Hey guys, it's Synik25 here, and this video is all going to be talking about siding for the January 2014 format with Constellars, because this is the deck I'm probably going to run for the January 2014 format. I think it holds a lot of potential, and I've been really thinking about what's an effective way to side against the meta for Constellars. And one of the biggest things you have to consider if you're playing Constellars this format is that there's a lot of ways your opponent can side against you. So when you're constructing your side deck, you have to account for that you have to have counters to their counters, because Rivalry of Warlords and Light Imprisoning Mirror really hurts this deck to the point where you can't even play it. So there's a lot of cards in this side deck that really help me counter what my opponent is trying to counter against me. So definitely keep that in mind if you're planning on playing Constellars this format, to find some effective counters to their counters. But this is what I have. I'm going to go over each card individually and tell you why I chose it. And as always, feel free to comment on what you think of it, and feel free to give me some suggestions. So one MST here against for those decks that play a lot of back row. I just throw this in, maybe take out a Mind Control or something, one of my random techs here, and just throw that in. Pretty self-explanatory. System down, this is for Gear-Kari, and it works really well to just banish all of their machine-type monsters that they can control or in their graveyard, and it could really set them back. So this card works wonders against that deck. Zombie World. Now this is the first side card I have in here that's a counter to one of my opponent's counters, particularly Rivalry of Warlords, because what Rivalry of Warlords does is it prevents you from playing a monster that has a conflicting type with another one of your monsters. And because all the Constellars have different types, it makes it almost impossible to get any of your plays off. Like Algidi is Spellcaster, Calls is Beast Warrior, Pollux is Warrior, Sheridan is Beast, and Sombre is Fairy. And because of that, if Rivalry of Warlords is on the field, it becomes really hard to make your plays, simply put. So to counter that, you can turn all of your monsters into zombies, and it actually doesn't hurt you because all of your XZs, or at least the Constellar ones, mainly take lights, or they require the Constellar name. So just because everything is a zombie, it actually doesn't hurt you that much, which is great. So Zombie World is definitely a really good card to put in here to counter Rivalry of Warlords. Now, what's also nice is it doesn't even hurt things like Tenki. So you can still search out calls like as a Beast Warrior, because Zombie World doesn't affect the cards in your deck. So you can still get calls out of your deck and you can still play it, and it works very well. So I think Zombie World's a great tech in here against Rivalry of Warlords, and I chose it over DNA Surgery mainly because it's faster. You can play it immediately, and I just like it a lot. So to debunk here. Now, this is an interesting tech, but I think it works really well, and it's actually a pretty universal side card you can throw in this format, because there's so many effects to activate either in the hand or the grave, be it Bujins, be it Dark Worlds, anything really. And being able to just stop that is great. I mean, the fact that this can stop hand traps is absolutely incredible. Especially like Bujins, like they have like Crane. It's like, nope, sorry, I'm going to debunk that, and you can just ram into Yamato. And it's also a quick play, which is really cool. So it makes it hard for your opponent to actually respond to debunk. So this is a great card to side against Bujins, as well as Overworked, which also works well against Fire Fist, because this destroys each monster whose attack is higher than its original attack. And if Tenki's sitting on the field, on like your Bujin player or your Fire Fist player, it's going to destroy all their cards. Now, you do have to worry about this card a little bit with your deck too, because it could potentially blow up your calls or even your bear, but it's easy to play around. It's not that big of a deal, and it's definitely going to hurt the Bujin player or Fire Fist player a lot more than it's going to hurt you. Now, I'm running one more Fiendish Chain here. This is mainly for Lightsworns, because I want to have more things that negate effects so they don't get their mills, and if JD comes out, I can prevent JD from blowing up the field. So this is here if my opponent has like effect monsters that really need to get their effects off, I could just tech in one more Fiendish Chain and go about my business. So that's mainly the purpose here. Now, Royal Decree has multiple uses. Its first use is against another counter that your opponent might have against Constellars, and it could be Rivalry of Warlords because it's a trap, or it could also be Light Imprisoning Mirror, because let's say you don't have an MST in your hand to get rid of it, you could just negate it completely with Royal Decree and carry on with your business. Now, what's also nice is that let's say you have Pallades on the field, but its effect is being negated because of Light Imprisoning Mirror. You could just pop Royal Decree, stop that from happening. You can use Pallades' effect again. To whatever you want. You can either bounce a monster, or you could just bounce back Decree if you want later on. So it makes Decree pretty good. but it's also against, decks, again, with pretty heavy back row. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, this is mainly here for like Dark Worlds. Negates all Dark Monsters effects activated in the field of the graveyard. I'd probably also put in Debunk with this, just have as much effect negation as possible. Maybe even Venus Chain, probably not though. But yeah, Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, mainly here for Dark Worlds. And then finally the One Soul Drain, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's a pretty staple side card. So yeah, this is the side deck I'm going to be running for the January 2014 format with Constellars. I think it's pretty much completed. I've been shuffling around a few cards. Like I recently put into Kree. This actually almost was in the main deck at one point, but I feel like it's pretty solid here at 2, mainly against those decks with pretty heavy back row. You could just stop immediately and you can pull it back up as you need it. Let's say you need to use your traps. Palladius is good to just bounce it back. So yeah, this is the side deck I'm using, and feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and take care, guys.